Ladies and gentlemen, I got another tier list today. Today, it's 2010's horror movies. I mean, come on. Let's get the video started. Categories. Same categories as the last video, which was, 2000's horror movies. The best of the best. It's called horror. Under that, scary. Under that, we got spooky. Under that, okay, doesn't mean it sucked. It's just probably like a weak movie. Like, it takes a movie a lot to scare me. I don't think any movie at all scares me, except one franchise. I'm not gonna say what it is. But besides that, scary horror movies are good, but I just don't get scared. But anyways, let's just do a tier list. Okay, first up, we got the movie Don't Breathe. Okay, so this one was about these, I think, a couple teenagers, or maybe 2 or 3 teenagers. I think it's 3. 2 dudes and a girl. So they break into this dude's house, but they do not know that the owner of the house is blind. So, or maybe they do. I don't remember. I saw this movie once, and I think it was around the time it came out. So they're in his house, and I don't remember what the plot was. Maybe they're in there trying to steal jewelry or some important stuff or valuable stuff. I don't know, family heirlooms. I don't know, but they're in there. Do they know he's blind? I don't know, but the owner of the house, he's like, even though he's blind, he's like very aware of his surroundings, and I think he's been blind for a while, that he's adapted to like how to live life without any vision. And he like slowly hunts them down, all 3 teenagers. It's very scary because, well, to other people it might be very scary or just scary. To me, it was just a good plot. The teenagers, they get into the house thinking that the blind man's going to fear them, but no, they fear the owner of the house. They fear the blind man. It's a good movie. Don't Breathe, I put it in spooky. Next up on my list is Hereditary. Hereditary, I love that movie. It's a great movie. It's about so there's this dude. He gets invited to, I think, a party. He asks his mom, can I go to the party? She says, yes, just take your little sister with you. So he's hesitant, but he ends up taking her. So the little girl is allergic to, I think, peanuts or peanut butter. At the party, she ends up eating peanuts or peanut butter. So she has an allergic reaction. The brother notices. So he leaves the party. He's on her way, I think, to the hospital. So I think her windpipe, her esophagus, I don't know, that tube that breathes air in and out, it starts to close. So she's having a hard time breathing. So while he's driving to the hospital, she sticks her head out the window, I guess, to get some air. But the dude's driving at night. As she has her head out the window, while he's driving, I think he sees an animal on the road, so he swerves. And as he's swerving, while her head's out the window, he gets close enough to one of those light poles. You know where I'm going with this. Her head's out the window, the pole decapitates her. Man. And they show the head all alone, decapitated, with like ants already crawling on it. Gruesome. It's a really good movie. It'll give you a good scare. To me, man, I thought this movie was great. I'm putting it in horror. Hereditary, go watch it. It Follows. You know the poster you've seen around of an orange car, and I think a girl and a guy in it. It's about this girl. I think she has a boyfriend, so they end up sleeping together. Here's what happens. When they sleep together, the dude, he passes on, like, I think a curse onto the girl. And the curse is, now that you have the curse, you start seeing all these like ghosts. The only way, to stop seeing all those ghosts is for her to sleep with someone else, and then that curse gets passed on to that person. But here's the thing: if that person that she passed it on to, that she slept with, gets killed, like, he's out of line. Now it goes back to her. They start going back to killing her. So in order to stop it, she has to go ahead and sleep with someone else to pass the curse on. And then that person has to sleep with someone else to pass the curse on. I mean, it's the only way to stay alive. A lot of people like this movie, but I mean, to me, it's not as good as Hereditary. I'll put it in scary. Next up, we got Krampus. Okay, I don't know what Krampus is. I think he's a demon Santa Claus, or a demonic Santa Claus, an evil Santa Claus with hooves. He has a long ass tongue. He has horns sticking out of his head. I don't know. Creepy claws. Krampus almost has the same vibe as Trick or Treat. It's horror, but then it has like a little bit of comedy in it. Even though it's a horror movie, like Trick or Treat, me and my family, we all gather around to watch it once or twice a year, but in the month of December, because it's a Christmas horror movie, and Christmas is in December. It's a good family movie to watch. You got little kids, they'll probably be afraid of Krampus, a demonic Santa Claus, but if you're an adult, you'll think the movie's entertaining. It's a good movie. As you're watching it, you think the little kid, he saves the day, but then at the end, has a twist ending. Really good ending. Krampus, I'm putting it in spooky. I mean, the comedy elements mixes the horror in there. It's a good movie. Not Monday Night Raw, but it's just called Raw. Okay, I saw this movie once. This one is about this girl. She goes into a school, I think, that her older sister is going to already. And the girl, she's a vegetarian, I think. She's never eaten meat in her life. So when she gets to the school, it's orientation. And the orientation scene is wild. It's one big ass party. And then during the orientation, they make one of the steps you got to do to like get, I guess, initiated into the school or club is you got to eat meat. So there's a line of people, they're all passing out meat. When it gets to her turn, she's hesitant at first. She's like, I'm a vegetarian. And the person's like, okay, who cares? You're in the school, you're in this club, whatever it is. You need to eat this as part of your initiation. She's just like, I guess. So she eats it. After she eats it, she gets like a fond taste to it. Like throughout the movie, crazy events happen, weird events. Nothing spooky or scary, just kind of disgusting events. And throughout the movie, she gets the taste for more raw meat. There's this part where she's with her sister in a room. I don't remember how. I don't know, somehow her older sister's, I think her finger or her toe gets cut off by accident. And the pain made her pass out. And the girl, the little sister, she remembers the taste of the raw meat she ate in initiation, while her big sister's asleep because she passed out. The little sister, she gets the toe and starts eating it. She likes it. It's a disgusting movie. Raw, I put it in spooky. Scary stories to tell in the dark. No, it's not Nickelodeon's Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It's scary stories to tell in the dark. I actually saw this one, I think last week. I only saw it because the poster looks cool. It's just an open field and a scary ass looking scarecrow. So this one, it's one of those movies where a bunch of, I think 3 or 4 like little tales, stories are told, and then they combine at the end. think one of the stories was these group of teenagers. They're like bullies, and they go into the field and they see the scarecrow. They start beating the scarecrow to death. They like dismember it, whatever. They do more bullying, and then the main leader of the group, he ends up being in that same field again with the scarecrow. The scarecrow comes to life and he kills that kid, and then that kid ends up turning himself into a scarecrow. Like you see him choking as he's transforming. You see like straw coming out of his mouth. He ends up becoming a scarecrow. Another spooky scene is this dude. He's in the hospital, some sort of hospital. The lights go red. The whole hallway is red, and there's 4 directions he can go. He can go forward, he can go back, he can go this way, or he can go that way. But he's stuck in the center, and everywhere he looks, there's like this weird-looking woman slowly walking towards him. She looks kind of scary, and she's not wearing any clothes. And as she gets closer to him, the dude starts panicking, and I'm not gonna say his fate, but it gets to the point where like she closes in on him and something happens. It's a pretty good movie. Scary stories to tell in the dark. I put it in spooky. It's a good one. Next up, we got a clown movie. We got The Terrifier. The Terrifier is about Art the Clown. I'm sure you've seen this one, or I'm sure you've heard of this one. This one is just a killer clown on the loose, but he does his killings very, very brutal. I remember this one killing he did. He has a girl tied up, and he cuts her down the middle. You know, not like this, how I am, but he has her hanging vertically. He has her legs open, and he cut her down the middle with, I think, a chainsaw, or like I think a hacksaw. You know, the hacksaws. He cuts her right down the middle. That's a gruesome way to die. And then throughout the movie, he does other brutal killings that are just as brutal as that. He gets covered in blood eventually. And I think besides this one, besides Terrifier, I think he comes out in another movie called All Hallows Eve. I'm not sure what that one's about. I didn't see that one, but I did see Terrifier, which is the one that's on this list. The Terrifier, to me, it wasn't scary, but I like gore and stuff, so I put it in spooky. Okay, now this next one. If I were to make like a top 10 list of my favorite horror movies of all time, this one would be on there. The Conjuring. You've heard of it. You know what it is. The Conjuring. So this one was based on a true story. This couple, they move into a house. They have, I think, 3 or 4 kids. The house is being haunted by a demonic spirit. And it turns out, okay, the demonic spirit is haunting the kids. As the jump scares, you know, as the scary moments occur throughout the film, it happens to the kids. So you think that one of the kids is going to get possessed. Towards the end, when it starts like forming towards the conclusion of the movie, turns out the mom was the one that was trying to get possessed the whole time. She does get possessed by a demon. You see it in full form. Her face turns different. There's this part where she gets covered in a blanket or a sheet or something, and there's like an explosion in her face, and you see the blood pop all over the bed sheet. It's kind of scary. They made a sequel. The Conjuring 2 was just as good as The Conjuring, and maybe even better. But in this list, I'm just putting The Conjuring. The Conjuring, I'm going to put up at the top with Hereditary in horror. It's that good. Go watch it. We got The Possession. That's what it's called. It's called The Possession. Because I know you're like, which possession movie? There's The Possession of Hannah Grace. The Possession of... There's a lot of movies with the word possession and then of. This one is just called The Possession. This one's a good one. This one is about a dad and his little girl. They go, I think, to a garage sale. You know, the dad's looking around, looking at antiques. The little girl, she finds a box. You know where I'm going with this. It's one of those, I can't pronounce the name right. I think it's called a Dybbuk box. Or Dybbuk box. I can't pronounce the word. It's one of those two. But she finds one of those boxes at the garage sale. She buys it because I guess it looks like a really cool looking antique. She takes it home and, you know, she opens the box and she lets a spirit out. So the spirit, it goes into her. All these like spooky scenes start happening. There's just one scene where she's not feeling good, so she goes to her restroom. She's looking in the mirror and she opens up her mouth because I think she feels something like not good in there. She looks in the mirror and then she has her mouth open. She sees two fingers popping out from the back of her throat, you know, next to that little punching bag thing that's hanging back there. She sees two fingers like crawl out of there. Scares her. She closes her mouth and like backs off from the mirror. And then as the movie progresses, things get worse and worse. She eventually gets possessed. And the dad, he gets worried. I think, I don't remember this movie. I don't know how it ended. But they do like some sort of exorcism on her. It's a good movie. The Possession, I put it in scary. Good movie. It's just called The Possession. If you want to watch it, just type in The Possession. Not the possession of, it's just The Possession. We got a movie that you've probably never heard of. It's called The Ritual. This one, I saw it and I thought it was a really, really good movie. It's a great movie. This one was about a group of 4 friends. They're like, what do you call those people? They're a group of friends that like to, I guess, explore the wilderness, or they like to travel a lot. So they're at this point in the movie where they're at one point, they need to get to their destination. They have their route ready, but it's a long route. And I think one of them suggests for them to cut through the woods, which would make it an easier and faster route. So they all agree. They cut through the woods to get to their destination. But then as they do that, a bunch of stuff starts to happen to them. They run into a bunch of stuff that they're not supposed to see, a bunch of scary stuff. They end up finding a lonely cabin, and I guess they end up sleeping there because they have nowhere to sleep. I bet they do have tents, but like if they see an empty cabin, they'd rather sleep in there. And bad stuff happens to them in there. They're being like hunted by this cult. Eventually, you know, some of them die. One of them gets captured by that cult. And that cult is serving a godlike creature, a godlike monster. It turns out that monster, that creature, is one of the bastard sons of Loki. You know Loki, the god of mischief, Thor's brother. One of the sons of Odin, I think. Yeah, it's a creature of it's a son of Loki. It's a weird looking creature. It's like a really big deer, but then the face is like all messed up. It's deformed. It's like the antlers of the deer are like, how can I say this? The antlers of the monster are like body parts of the human body, like an arm like this, like forming one of the antlers, another leg like that, forming the antlers. And then let me see if I can find a picture of that monster and put it on here. So that's what it looks like. It looks kind of like a moose. You know how mooses are kind of big. And then the head, what you're seeing there, the antlers are like human, like I said, the arms, the legs, positioned in weird ways. But this one, I like this movie a lot. I'm putting it up there with The Conjuring and Hereditary. And there we go. A tier list of 2010's horror movies. The best of the best in this category were Hereditary, The Conjuring, and The Ritual. Again, in this tier list, no movies made it onto the boo category. That's a good thing. Well, there you go. So I've gone from 2000s to 2010s. The next video will most likely be 2020's decade's horror movies, which is a decade that we're still in. But thanks for watching.